Good evening and welcome to the show. For nearly 10 years, Darrell Meese has been waiting to die, sentenced to death for a cold-blooded murder. Meese was running out of time. Then suddenly last week, his life was spared. This incredible story has drawn national attention and has many people outraged by this act of mercy. You may not only be surprised at how his life was saved, but who it was that saved him. Here's some background from our Michael Ayala.
I really got like kind of a chill that ran across my body whenever, when he first came in through the building.
He's a man who brings so much to so many.
In the name of the Father, of the Son.
And last week, during his visit to St. Louis, Missouri, Pope John Paul II performed a miracle for this man, Darrell Meese, an inmate on Missouri's death row.
And the death penalty, which is both cruel and unnecessary.
Meese served nearly 10 years on death row for the ambush-style shotgun murders of a former drug partner, his wife, and their disabled son. He was originally scheduled to die by lethal injection during the Pope's 2-day visit to St. Louis, but the execution was postponed for 2 weeks. And then, during Mass in St. Louis, the Pope delivered a strong attack on capital punishment.
That the dignity of human life must never be taken away, even in the case of someone who has done great evil.
And after the prayer service, the Pope took his message directly to Missouri Governor Mel Carnahan.
He spotted me and came over and lingered and asked for mercy for Mr. Meese.
Missouri has executed 26 people during Carnahan's 6 years in office, but the governor, a Baptist, was apparently moved by his meeting with the Catholic pontiff and commuted Meese's sentence to life in prison.
I do believe in the death penalty. I administer it, but I also think sometimes responding to a request for mercy is also appropriate.
But was the decision appropriate in this case? Well, as one who has long been opposed to the death penalty, I'm troubled somewhat by this decision. I think it is as arbitrary and capricious as the decision to impose the death penalty. Now, some would say, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. But suppose that there was a rich, powerful, influential person who came along who was in favor of the death penalty and said to the governor, be sure you kill this inmate. I would be opposed to that. So I think I've got to be somewhat consistent. So I'm troubled by this. I'm glad this life has been spared because I'd like to see all the lives spared under these circumstances. But we're going to talk about this and more tonight. Joining us in Missouri is Duane Marriage, one of the jurors during Darrell Meese's murder trial 10 years ago. Also with us is James Justice, who prosecuted the case, and Kent Gibson, one of Meese's lawyers. Here with me in New York is civil rights attorney extraordinaire Ron Kuby. Good evening, gentlemen. Good to have all of you with us. Mr. Justice, let me start with you as the prosecutor in this case. You prosecuted a number of murder cases in your career as a district attorney, and this is the first one where you've asked and received the death penalty. Tell us something about the facts of this case, sir.
Okay, well, this is actually the second one where I asked. The first one that I received.
Okay.
This is a case, Darrell Meese was working for Lloyd Lawrence, the grandfather that was killed, and they were making methamphetamine. He started out as a gopher and worked his way up to a lieutenant for him, and then they had a falling out. Meese stole several thousands of dollars worth of the finished product, and Lloyd Lawrence basically put a contract out on Meese, and Meese was running and did so for about 6 months. And then decided that, no, he was tired of running, that he came back and then planned the death and hiked in over several miles and spent 3 days planning it, was in full camouflage and had a shotgun, 357 Magnum and a high-powered rifle and a hunting knife and set up a blind and waited. And unfortunately for Willie Lawrence, the count that we tried back in '90, who was a paraplegic and who loved to go four-wheeling with his grandfather. On that particular day, they tied his feet to the four-wheeler, and he went ahead of his grandfather and grandmother, and then Lloyd Lawrence and Frankie came by on a four-wheeler, and Darrell stepped out with a shotgun, which was loaded with double-aught buck and slugs alternatively, and shot them both. And then, as they laid there dead, walked over and shot him again in the head with a shotgun and blew their head away. Well, Willie, who he knew and who he had sat on the porch and had lemonade with, could identify him. So when he came back, he said, I had nothing to do but was to kill Willie, in which he did, shot him with a shotgun, and then again in the same fashion, and for the same reason, walked over as Willie laid on the ground and blew his head away.
Mr. Justice, under your death penalty statute, the killing of a potential witness, is that one of the grounds, is that one of the aggravating circumstances that would allow someone to get the death penalty?
Yes, it is, and the multi-murders and the fact that you mutilated the bodies after they were dead is also one of the aggravators.
All right, so you got the death penalty. And we got one of the jurors here, Mr. Duane Marriage. Thank you for joining us this evening. You were on that jury, and the jury deliberated only 45 minutes in the guilt and innocence phase. Is that right?
That's right.
And then you, with another 2 hours, and then you imposed death in this case, which you thought was the appropriate sentence. Is that right?
That's right.
How do you feel about the events that have transpired here in the last week or so, in which the governor's granted clemency to this gentleman?
Well, just really disappointed. It's like everything's just been let down. All the people that did the work, the attorneys, the court system, the judges, the first trial, the appeals, and everything like that, and then it's just all just been dropped in our face.
Well, you know, Mr. Justice, before we leave this particular topic, you tried this man on only one of the counts, the one involving the paraplegic grandson. There are two other counts, and what is your office made a decision as to whether to go after him on these other two murder counts?
No, they haven't. I am no longer the elected prosecutor. That's not my decision, and